Remember, 50% off.
All right. Very good. Oh, yeah. Very good.
Well done, Magic Man.
We're just getting started.
Hey guys, Kiwi here. In this video, I'll be reviewing and recapping the Season 5 premiere of Better Call Saul, Season 5, Episode 1, Magic Man. We'll go through and recap the episode as I give my opinions. Feel free to do the same in the comments below. In the future, I'll do a more highly edited breakdown and review of each episode for Season 5, along with each episode for the show in general, starting with Season 1, but for now, I just really wanted to get some discussion out there for these new episodes. So first off, the opening teaser, the cold opening, the Jane scene, whatever you want to call it, I loved it. We got so much this season, it's overwhelming. The diamonds, him wanting to skip town, then the second he goes back to his life and least expects it, he's made by the cab driver. We get the Ed cameo, and then Gene decides he's going to take care of the cab driver himself. I'll be breaking down Season 5 Gene in his own video very soon. Be sure to check it out. When it's finished, I'll have the link to the video. Anyways, Episode 1 truly starts out where Season 4 left off, Jimmy signing the DBA, allowing him to practice under the new name Saul Goodman, while Kim tries to process what's even going on. Jimmy gives Kim the option to either let him go through with it or not, but the way he does it seems like he's manipulating her. Just like with her clients, if this is really Jimmy's decision, she doesn't want to get between that, so she doesn't want to be the asshole to stand in the way. Because of that, she tells him that he should go through with it, even though she's not okay with it. Whenever Jimmy is talking to Kim now, I feel nervous that he's just conning her the same way that he fooled her alongside everyone else in the courtroom during the Season 4 finale. Yeah, there are some scenes where he is Jimmy and he's really just talking to her, but a lot of the times he's trying to reel her in, he's trying to convince her of something. And then later, at Kim's apartment, they continue the discussion about Jimmy's future endeavors. And this is what I mean by we do see a little bit of Jimmy inside of him still. Kim gives Jimmy some reinstatement gifts, but they're actually old gifts that she had bought back in Season 4, but then when Jimmy went through several setbacks, she decided to just keep them in the closet until now. In fear of being redundant, I already discussed Kim's gifts to Jimmy in my Season 5 episode title and synopsis video, check that out, but moving on, in this scene, she says that they worked so hard to get there, so why this? Kim just can't seem to wrap her head around it, and she'll just have to wait and see. The thing is, who knows if she'll end up liking or not, or if she'll even stick around for the final product. Saul just has this vision, and Kim is just not on board at all. Jimmy seems to think that it's okay for him to keep pushing the boundaries while Kim constantly reels him back into reality, but who knows how long Kim will be able to put up with that for. She doesn't just want to be his moral compass, it should be Jimmy's responsibility to be self-aware enough to not go overboard himself. It's not fair to rely on Kim to mediate all of his decision making. I do enjoy how he acknowledges Chuck, and everything about how his real name will always be tied to him. Jimmy doesn't want to be compared to his brother anymore, he doesn't want to feel tied down by the past, he wants to move forward with a fresh start, and the Saul Goodman name is the way to do it. Makes sense, I kind of agree, I like it too, although it's still his choice to create this street criminal clientele. And then there's the Magic Man montage. Who doesn't like a good Breaking Bad Better Call Saul montage? So if you don't know, Chris McCaleb is one of the main editors for Better Call Saul, and he actually hosts the Insider podcast as well. He's the one that edited this montage and put it all together, and just a good job, you've absolutely outdone yourself, just as the show creators have done with this season in general. First off, there are a few parts of this montage of Jimmy giving away his remainder burner phones that had me laughing quite a bit, talking about herb of the earth and also talking about having claymores in your trunk while that dude just kinda subtly nods. It was entertaining to watch through and through, seeing Saul Goodman finally here in full force. And just the insanity of it all, him having to go through the same spiel over and over again but with slight variations, and just the dinging of the bell, just the editing, I loved it. It was done really well, and I feel like the montages for this show are getting better and better. It's not just to fill time, they do a really good job at having a bunch of storytelling in these montages in a very satisfying way, and the cinematography is just always on point as well. I love the hilarious ways that he just profiles the people that he's talking to, as I said, assuming crimes that they'd get in trouble for and how he can help. It also makes me laugh how he keeps increasing the amount of time he's saying he got Huel out of, topping it off with the Magic Man nickname that he says Huel insists on calling him. That's actually the title of the episode. Saul ends up giving away the 50% off coupons against Kim's recommendation, but he did get caught up in the moment, trying to give away those final few cards to the remaining customers who didn't get burner phones and tried to walk away. Just like Huel, I'm pretty impressed with Saul, and he says he's just getting started. Later on, we see Jimmy's bombardment on the petty with a prior guy, ADA Oakley, at the courthouse. It was just absolutely hilarious as well. At first, you may recognize that the interviewer is actually one of Jimmy's camera crew. She's the makeup girl or the drama girl, so it makes sense that she'd be playing a role here. And then Saul walks into frame to commence the advertising con. First off, you might think that they're trying to give Saul some free publicity, make that Oakley guy look bad, and just make Saul look good for the camera. That may be the case, but what are they even recording for? Are they even going to send that tape in somewhere and get it shown? It seems like they brought in the camera crew and did all of this as a stunt just to make a good impression to random people in the building who ended up asking for his business card. So this was all just to get people to take his card and just to get his name out. Jimmy's thinking of some pretty lucrative ways to increase his clientele, and it really feels like Slippin' Jimmy is living his best life doing things like this. And then I loved the ending to this episode with Kim's client. We clearly get shown how frustrated that Kim is with the client not taking the obvious deal because he thinks he can go up on trial with a cute smile, flaunt his pregnant wife and his kid, and get them to pity him. This guy seems like someone who's never truly faced any real consequences in his life because of his charm, and so he doesn't know how to when to just cut his losses. Kim explains the situation to Jimmy, who pretty much freaks out in frustration the same way that the audience would or currently would be. Certainly the way that I was, and I was on board with Jimmy here until he offers a way to fix it. Kim doesn't want to, no matter how much Jimmy insists, and believe me, he insists. But the thing is, when she goes back to sit down with the clients, she can't think of another plan, so she just goes with it. Jimmy enabled her by giving her an immoral solution to her problem, dangling it in front of her, and she chose to do it knowing it would get her what she wanted. Her client gets to take the 5-month deal instead of taking it to trial. So she does this, but she doesn't feel good about it as she's now crossed her own moral line. Kim scamming her client in order to do what she wants is the first step to break the camel's back, and I feel like this will continue to become more and more of a domino effect as the season goes on. So with the Jimmy and Kim side of things for the episode out of the way, let's go ahead and discuss everything else that went on with the entire cartel side of the show with Mike, Guss, Lalo, and Nacho. And also, I've just been going in chronological order. We saw Jimmy's side of things first, so I discussed him first, but let me know if you want me to discuss the Jimmy and Kim side of things first, or the Guss, Lalo, Nacho, Mike side of things first for future reviews and recaps, because I'm not sure which part of the show you guys enjoy more. I'm pretty sure it's split down the middle, but let me know what you guys think. I've just been going in chronological order, and I think it's best to keep the two sides of the show separate, so whether which one I discuss first, I'll go through the entirety of one side, and then go to the other side. So this episode seems to be Lalo confronting Guss over the entire Werner situation. Guss feeds him and Bolsa a line of BS, and they have no choice but to pretend to believe him. Bolsa may or may not, but as long as Guss keeps making money and keeps Don Eladio happy without any further complications, Bolsa isn't going to look any more into it. Lalo, not so much. Lalo knows that Guss is lying through his teeth, but with Guss acting like he's so apologetic, shamed, and just completely throwing himself under the bus, Lalo realizes that there's not much more that can be said at this moment. Like, what's he gonna say? Hey Guss, even though you're admitting to everything being your fault, you're still lying about it somehow, I have a hunch. Like, no, he's gonna be smart, he's gonna keep his mouth shut, he's just gonna walk away from that and kind of approach it in a different way in the future. Lalo is possibly the most dangerous Salamanca we've seen thus far, Breaking Bad included. He's not outlandishly crazy like Tuco, and he's not all bitter and salty like Hector. He's smart, charming, and knows when to stand his ground. Although he obviously has more to say, as we see him talking to Hector in episode 502, during 501 while talking to Bolsa he even admits that there's nothing more to say. Lalo is smart, and I'm really interested in seeing just how hard of a time he's going to give Guss this season. It was very interesting to realize that Guss wasn't showing Lalo and Bolsa where the actual super lab was being built. It was a nice little fake out when Guss told them that he'd just show them, and then it turns out that they were just working on something in the back of a warehouse. He knew that this meeting was happening, and so he had Mike and the German workers doing this side project in order to back up his lies in case he gets questioned, which he obviously did. And we find out in episode 2 that it was actually Nacho who switched the drugs in order to back up Gus's fake story about Werner stealing drugs and Guss replacing them, and that's why Lalo found different drugs, but I'll discuss that more in episode 2. Oh, and also, I may create an entire video on this when we get more information. I discussed it briefly in my title and synopsis video, but the conversation between Lalo and Bolsa is very important. They mention how Hector killed Gus's previous partner and protege, which is very important for people who haven't seen Breaking Bad, which is more common than you may think. They're also mentioning Santiago, which is the capital and largest city of Chile. We've wanted to know about Gus's Chilean past for so long now. It's only ever been hinted at in Breaking Bad, but will Better Call Saul give more of that information away? Could we get a possible Guss flashback like how we'd see in Breaking Bad? One of the episode titles is called in Spanish Dedicated to Max, which was the name of Gus's partner, so I assume we'll be seeing more of Gus's backstory during that episode. And then finally, there's the way that Mike's currently reacting to the events with Werner. He takes Werner's crew out into the desert, and it's funny when he opens the back of the truck, he says, "Don't worry, if we were going to kill you, we would have already, now get out." So he sends them home because Lalo's snooping around, and Guss realizes that he cannot continue the construction project as they previously were. The Germans are getting sent home paid with the job half done, and they'll return to finish the lab once Guss has taken care of Lalo. This is confirmation that Guss realizes that Lalo will be a persistent problem and that he needs to be dealt with. And this makes me realize that the super lab is all just set up for Lalo in this season 5 story. Yeah, it's cool to see the super lab being built, but that wasn't the entire point. Like, I feel like once the Guss versus Lalo story arc is over and done with, and they actually bring back the Germans, they'll probably get the rest of the super lab finished in a single montage. Like, I feel like they'll breeze over it. Yeah, it was cool seeing how they found the team and how they set it all up and everything, but the point isn't just the super lab. The point is that Guss is keeping the super lab secret from the Salamancas, and now that Lalo has entered the game, it's just too sketchy. Anyways, back to Mike. Mike is offered to get paid for the whole time that he waits, but he chooses to tell Guss to keep his money because he's still understandably not feeling good for what he had to do to Werner. And I get very similar vibes with Mike realizing that Guss doesn't really care, he doesn't feel bad for it, and Mike is pissed off about that. Similar fashion to when in Breaking Bad that kid was killed on the bike, and even though Walt tells Jesse that he cares and that he feels bad, Jesse is actually distraught from it, and then as he leaves, Walt is whistling like he literally doesn't care.
I've been able to sleep the past few nights just thinking about it.
So, very similar vibes here. Jesse being mad at Walt for not really being fazed that an innocent kid was killed, and then Mike being mad at Guss for not really caring that an innocent man was killed, especially since Guss made Mike do it. I mean, Mike didn't have to do it. Like, yes, Mike is in control of his own decisions, but Mike was working for Guss, and we all know what kind of person Guss is. He wants strong, loyal people on his team. If Mike wouldn't have killed Werner, Werner would have died anyways. Werner's family would have died, and also maybe Mike would have been killed because Guss would have realized that Mike is too soft for this kind of business. It seems like this season, Guss will be trying to get Mike back into the fold and under his wing, but how will Guss convince Mike to come to terms with not only what he's done, but also to do it again in the future and not be fazed by it? I really enjoyed episode 1 for season 5. The season is starting off strong. I'll be back tomorrow with my episode 2 breakdown just in time for episode 3, and let me know what you guys think of these quick review recap type videos. I'm thinking of covering the most recently aired episode the weekend before the next one airs on Monday, just like how I'm doing right now with episodes 1 and 2 right before episode 3 airs. Again, I will be doing more highly edited full episode breakdown videos in the future. Like, it kind of hurts my soul Saul to only slap together a few images instead of just going all out in the editing process to assure that I'm throwing in every little relevant clip and image that I can for every like 3 to 4 seconds of whenever I'm talking about something. But sometimes I really feel like I just want to get the discussion out there, and then I get bogged down during the editing process and the video takes an extra few hours to a few extra days to finish. During the off season, I do plan on starting a series on the channel where I start from the pilot episode, season 1 episode 1, and go through the entire show of Better Call Saul, each season episode by episode, giving a full breakdown and discussion opportunity. That's obviously a large task to commit to, but we'll have roughly a year in between seasons, so I hope you guys continue the journey with me once season 5 is over. I tried doing highly edited episode reviews during season 3, but with all the promo trailers and discussions I also had on my plate, it was just way too stressful and impractical. Due to this, I didn't do episode reviews or breakdowns at all for season 4, just specific discussions and trailer breakdowns. That being said, I'm trying to meet in the middle here and still get an episode review discussion out every week for the newest episode, but be able to keep my sanity and still work on all the other videos that I want to create. So in other words, either low effort edited reviews each week, or we just have to wait until the off season. Again, any and all feedback is appreciated. You guys have been amazingly supportive recently, and simple words coming out of my mouth just can't thank you enough, like, honestly. So as always, like the video if you've enjoyed anything that I've said today, and if you're new here, subscribe and hit that bell notification for more content on Better Call Saul in the near future. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.
Next, big fella outside. His name's Huel Dabin. Go ask Huel about me.
He was facing 3 years.
He was facing 6 years.
8 years down in Guadalupe.
He was facing 25 years.
Didn't do a single day. That's why he calls me the Magic Man.
I asked him not to call me that, but he insists. Next!